Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm super excited to host our session and be joined by Katie Davey, the founder and host of Femme Wonk, a podcast about policy, politics, and current affairs through an inclusive lens. Through Femme Wonk, Katie also speaks, consults, and hosts a book club. Katie currently holds the role of policy lead at the Public Policy Forum and has an extensive background in policy work as the former Director of Policy and Stakeholder Relations at the Office of the Official Opposition in New Brunswick. That's quite a mouthful. Formerly the Senior Advisor for Policy and Stakeholder Engagement in the New Brunswick's Premier's Office and President of the University of New Brunswick Student Union. So welcome again, and thank you for joining me today, Katie.
Thanks so much. I'm really happy to be here.
And I'm really excited to dive into kind of some deep conversations about the books that you've been reading and kind of pick your brain a little bit. So I've really given a very high level overview of your background and a bit about your podcast, Femme Wonk, but do you think you could go into a little more detail for us and kind of touch on what inspired you to create a podcast and in particular, the motivation to host a book club?
Yeah, absolutely. So it may not surprise folks based on that bio that I am from New Brunswick. I, grew up there and then spent 10 years kind of going to university and working in policy there. While I was doing that, I started getting really frustrated actually because the stories and the policies and the topics that I wanted to be seeing and reading about, whether it was kind of in the daily newspaper or things like that, just really weren't happening. We weren't really seeing lots of things about kind of inclusive policy. We weren't really seeing things about, shifting a narrative away from kind of a have-not province, like some folks still kind of see New Brunswick as. And, I started thinking to myself, should I just be frustrated all the time? Or should I use perhaps some of the tools and knowledge that I've gained to do something about it? And that really was what was behind the beginning of Femme Wonk. I, thought a podcast is a pretty low barrier to entry. I wasn't very tech savvy, so it turned out a bit harder to learn all those pieces at the beginning. But really, I just wanted to create a space where I could have conversations with people and about things that I really cared about and really wanted to amplify. And that's how it started. That was about a year and a half ago now. We officially released the first podcast in January of 2018, I guess, or maybe 2019. It was 2019. We've lost all track of time.
Yeah, there's no time anyway.
Exactly. And then the book club, I had always been an avid reader, but I honestly had stopped reading as much when I was kind of really into student politics, and then again afterwards in the New Brunswick government. But I wanted to start again, and I actually picked up the very first Femme Wonk book club pick, Invisible Women. I saw it and was like, I love this. This is a book I wanted to be written forever. It's basically about how there's a data bias in literally everything around women. So even in healthcare data, women are not represented, trials don't happen, cars aren't developed for kind of women's bodies and things like that. And I thought to myself,